Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Davis. It was really interesting reading your book, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about it. Let's start with the title. How did you come up with the title for this book?
Wow, I'm laughing at that because the title of this book, Are We There Yet?, actually came up before I wrote a word of the book. And the title, Are We There Yet?, basically was a question that I wanted to put out to people of color and in the Black community. I personally was aggravated and frustrated with the amount of murders and random shootings that were going on in the inner cities of Chicago every single week. I mean, kids as young as 6 months old were being murdered, slaughtered. I mean, people with no gang affiliation whatsoever were just being killed for no apparent reason. And so I wanted to put it out to the community. Are we fed up with this? Are we sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are we tired of having the highest murder per capita rate, the highest incarceration rate, the highest dropout rate, the highest unemployment rate? You know, there's something that had to be done. So are we there yet was that question I wanted to pose to everyone to say, hey, are we now ready to make a change here and do something positive for our community?
Well, it's one thing to pose these questions, but what do you hope to actually accomplish with this book?
You know, my goal is to change the mindset of people of color so that we stop degrading one another, stop distrusting one another, stop committing this black on black violence all the time. I want it where we value education. I want it where we value our right to vote and utilize the political process. I want it where we practice group economics and show that our dollars mean value outside of our little communities, where we could start entrepreneurship in our community so we can, have businesses where we can hire our own people and hopefully at some point raise ourselves out of this current situation that we find ourselves.
Well, you've faced quite a bit of controversy with these societal challenges that you bring up here. How do you feel about the outrage and the backlash that this book has created?
You know, I welcome a heated debate, and I welcome the backlash and the controversy with it. Believe me, I knew that this book was going to be more than just a book. It was going to be a movement because it was posing challenges. It was going to make people uncomfortable. It was going to make people, basically want to push back because I'm making them take accountability, responsibility, ownership for their families, for themselves, for their education, for their communities. So I knew there was going to be backlash because anytime you're trying to induct change, it makes people very uneasy. So I welcomed it because if it wasn't happening, then I would think the Black community has given up on itself. If there was no backlash, that means they're just content with the way things are and they don't think there's anything they can do to change it.
In addition to some of the challenges that you've outlined, you've actually issued some challenges yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about the Be Brilliant campaign?
Be Brilliant. Well, Be Brilliant goes hand in hand with the book. It's an educational initiative that I wanted to roll out because I found that when I'm doing mentoring in the inner cities, some of our children are actually embarrassed to be intelligent. They're embarrassed to get good grades. They're embarrassed to carry a book. I mean, believe it or not, when they're in class, they don't even want to raise their hand to answer a question or to ask a question of the teacher for the fear that their classmates are going to call them weak, that they're trying to be this, or they're not really down, or they're not hip, or they're not cool. Be Brilliant is to let them know, hey, put all that to the side. You need this education. It's important. Education gives you options and opportunity. And I wanted to let them know that, hey, I'm willing to reward you for being brilliant, for wanting to be the smartest in the class. Don't let anybody ever embarrass you for being brilliant.
Speaking of rewards, perhaps the most talked about challenge that you issue is your $1,000 challenge. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that?
The $1,000 challenge, money motivates. There's no doubt about that. And what I'm trying to do is retire the N word and the B word. Those words are so prevalent in our community, it's really disgusting. I mean, we hear it in all our hip hop music, our R&B music. We hear it in our TV shows and movies. And the challenge was basically to let people know that you can't give me a lyric or some type of wording in a movie or in a hip hop song or R&B song that I can't take that N word or the B word out and replace it with another word without it, transforming the sentence in general. So my thing was to make people listen to the music you're listening to and listen to every time you hear the N word and B word, and then try to stump me for $1,000 if I can't change that word without actually changing the sentence of the lyric.
How's it been going so far?
This is a win-win to me. It has everybody talking. Now, I haven't had to give up the $1,000, so that's really great. But I know that people are listening because in every barbershop, every beauty salon, every grocery store, laundromat, they are talking about that $1,000 challenge. They are listening to these songs and trying to come up with that one lyric that I'm not going to be able to transform, so they get $1,000. So it's a win-win. People are talking about it. They're recognizing how often we're using it. And I'm hoping that at some point we can retire it in years to come.
These are some pretty thought-provoking and action-inducing ideas that you have here. Can you give us a little bit of a hint about what we can see next from you?
Well, right now, I want the movement to get in front of as many people as we can. So with the help of TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, I want Are We There Yet?, the ultimate challenge, to be in front of everybody. And not just nationwide, maybe even worldwide. My goal is to really enlighten folks and let them know there's a different way of doing things. And I'm giving them the blueprint to do it. My book is not just talking or complaining about the plight of the black man and woman. It's actually giving a blueprint, directives, recommendations that if we embrace, follow, and commit to, it's going to change our social status, not only in America, but in the world.
So do we anticipate another book from you in the near future?
You know, I have to admit, another book is on the horizon, but I can't go into a lot of detail. But you probably won't see another book from me for another 1.5 to 2 years. But I can tell you this. As I start getting closer to a release date and the book is really materializing, I will make sure you're the first one that knows when it's coming out. Promise.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for talking to us about your book and about what may be coming in the future. We look forward to hearing feedback as things progress.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Take care.